Drills Talk, episode 160. In this episode, we're going to discuss the top 4 ways to deal with the way life works. This is based on a blog I wrote in the past entitled, I Don't Know the Word for This. I still don't really know the word for what I was attempting to describe in this blog that I wrote about a year ago. The situation is when you are approached with an issue and you don't really know what to do. It's that feeling that you get when you're kind of stuck in the middle of making a decision or not making a decision and letting it ride, or making a decision and then thinking about the issue that you may run into because you make the wrong choice of making a decision. I can't figure it out. Let's talk about it.
Yo, Drills.
Created by the great wizard of the new world.
Drills Talk, episode 160. In this episode, we're going to discuss the top 4 ways to deal with the way life works. Before we get started, I really, again, don't really understand what the specific word is, so I'm coming up with a lot of different words here. Please like, subscribe. Again, this is a motivational channel, but right now we're trying to figure this thing out. And if you know exactly what I'm talking about, or you can come up with the word for that scenario that I tried to explain in the beginning, by all means, help me out and help out everyone else who's probably trying to understand exactly what the word is for what I'm trying to describe. Let's get started. Number 1. Number 1 is confusion, uncertainty, anxiety. It could be one of those 3 that I'm attempting to describe, and I just can't really pinpoint which one it is, because in certain aspects, you feel all 3 in the scenario that I described in the beginning. And that's just the way life works, right? You don't always have the answers or the perfect word for a scenario. You just know what it is, and you can talk about it until hopefully you figure out that there's a word for it, right? So confusion in making a decision that, you have to make in life is not always because you don't understand something. It's just you see both sides of something. I think that this is the right answer or this is the right decision because of this. But I also feel that this side right here, this decision, if I did the opposite, I can see why someone else would do that, or even why I would choose to do that. That's confusion. I don't know which way to go because I see, reasoning in both decisions, both sides, both choices. I can make 2 different actions and understand why I did both. That's confusion. Not, oh, I don't understand. That's uncertainty. I don't know for sure, right? So let's go into uncertainty. If you're uncertain about something, it's because you don't have enough information about it, right? If you don't have enough information or you're not educated enough, you're uncertain because you don't know enough to make a decision. That's not confused. Confused was, I know enough to even see validation in 2 different actions. So I don't want you to kind of make them synonyms. Uncertainty is you have a lack of information. You don't have enough information to give a legitimate and well thought out answer or decision. And then we have anxiety. And anxiety is a really huge, well, it gets a lot more light than it used to get, right? So we're really on this mental health thing now, and people understand mental health, and anxiety is one of the huge things that have come to the limelight. But I've read recently a very good outlook, and I won't say who the book is, but very prominent guy, motivational speaker, entrepreneur, stated that anxiety is actually the opposite or kind of different than fear, right? So they say that fear is knowing that something is going to bring you pain or discomfort, and that anxiety is made up. You don't know that this thing is going to give you pain or discomfort, but you've told yourself that it would. You have no proof of it. You're just allowing it. It's made up. It's in your mind. Your mind stated that this should be something you fear, but you can't fear it because there's no certainty, right? So now you have kind of like a mixture of uncertain, and you have, that with the anxiety, and anxiety based on my new understanding of anxiety. Am I uncertain? Did I make this up? Am I confused now? It's like, that's why I don't know the word for the situation or the scenario that I gave in the beginning. It's like this space right before a decision is made to where you're kind of experiencing all of these things at the same time and not really knowing how to make a just decision. Anxiety absolutely is made up because we don't actually have concrete evidence that what we're thinking can happen will happen. It's not us thinking about, if you touch something that's really hot, if you put your hand in fire, it's going to burn. It's if we put your hand in that thing over there that may or may not be fire, may not even have any heat coming from it, it will burn you. You can't make that decision. You can't make that statement, but we do in our heads. And that's anxiety. That's what makes us anxious. We're not really sure about what's going on because we're telling ourselves all these possibilities that not are only like they're false, but they're not even rational because we have no proof that can happen. So you may or may not agree with that definition of it, but please give it some time to rattle it around in your brain and see if you understand where exactly that could come from. If you agree, great. If you don't agree, great. I'm just letting you know that that's something that I've come across and I actually agree with it. Number two is the mind is stronger than you think. Mind over matter is a huge deal. Speaking positive and believing in what you're saying is a huge deal. Staying away from negativity is a huge deal. It all works. They say that controlling your diet, if you can control your diet, you can control anything, right? So a good way of becoming more disciplined is to go on a difficult diet. Because if you can go on a difficult diet and stay on it, then you can probably stop yourself from doing anything after that, including, being addicted to things. You can start with a sugar addiction. If you change your diet and say, I'm not going to eat any sugar anymore, and you can stick with that, you've just beaten addiction. That can be as strong as, other common addictions that we know of. So understand that your mind is very powerful. Your words to yourself, extremely powerful. Your subconscious mind works in a way to where it only believes the positive of things. Like you can't really say anything negative to your mind. So if you say, I don't want to be fat, or, I don't want to be, anything negative, the don't kind of goes away. It only hears that I'm fat. I'm broke. I'm weak. So if you speak in the positive is, I am in great shape. I will be in great shape. I will be rich. Speak in positives. Don't have a negative in your statement because your subconscious hears that negative. And, you can believe it or you cannot believe it. I have actually practiced this stuff and paid more attention to it and saw a huge difference in just me stating things differently, and how I feel overall. And it works. Your mind matters. Your words matter. The way you say things matter. The things you allow around yourself matter. It all matters. And if we pay attention to it and don't kind of shun it away because it's a little different than what we believe, we'll surprise ourselves and have a lot better life and be a lot happier than we were prior to, shutting that stuff away. Number three is positivity isn't taboo. People not wanting to be around negative is not a bad thing. People wanting to be positive, wanting to produce good times, wanting to smile. There's nothing taboo about that. Nothing weird about that. Nothing corny about that. Let's embrace positivity. Positivity is not being fake. I'm not trying to be overly happy. I'm not trying to smile when there's nothing to smile about, but I definitely don't want to frown when there's nothing to frown about. I don't want to, welcome negativity into my life because I'm bored, or welcome negativity into my life is because I feel that, well, most of my past was negative. So What's the difference? I'm always in something negative. I know how to deal with that. Well, so I can learn to deal with positive too. And that's what your attitude should be. Not saying, oh, well, yeah, shit's always negative. And so why not another negative thing? I had enough. That's why. I had enough negativity. I'm moving away from negativity. I'm embracing positive stuff. I want to be happy. I want the people around me to be happy. I want the people around them to be happy. And there's nothing wrong with that. Remember, number 4. Number 4 is there's no rule book. There's no rule book to the way life works. There's no rule book to dealing with that weird area of right before you making a decision and you don't want to make the wrong decision and you're going through all these different emotions and whatever that emotion's called or whatever that scenario's called. There's no rule book on how to do it. We make the rule book. We make our own step-by-step of how we're going to handle these situations. We may not have a word for it, but we know how to describe it. And we're way ahead of the curve when we can describe a scenario, because there's people who have issues and can't really describe why or what's going on when they're experiencing that issue. We have a step ahead of them by understanding, I go through this situation. I don't know what it's called, but this happens. This is like this void, this period of uncertainty or anxiety or confusion right before I make a decision. And I know that there's no rule book to it, but what I can do for myself is state that when I'm in this situation, I'm going to do this. When I'm in this void, I'm in this weird spot to where I don't know what decision to make, I'm going to calm myself down. I'm going to get rid of the anxiety because I'm going to justify if this is fear or if this is anxiety. And if I can confirm that it's not fear because I don't have enough information to confirm that it is, I'm going to dismiss it because that anxiety is not real. It needs to go away. I can't confirm it, then it's not a real thing. And if I'm uncertain and I need more information, then I'm going to go gather that information. And if I'm confused because I understand enough to justify 2 different actions, my method of making a decision will then take away that confusion. It takes work. Nothing is easy, but that's the way life works. Drills Talk, episode 160. These are the top 4 ways to deal with the way life works. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. It's drills.com. Check this shit out. It's Drills.